Greetings to all of our viewers out there, and welcome once again to another edition of Sports Sidelines. I'm Dave Clifton. I'm here at the Sharon Studios along with co-host Ron Sanders, and today we're going to be talking about a very special guest who joins us in the studio. He wore number 77 and still wears it for the New England Patriots. He was the 17th draft choice for the NFL back in 2011. Of course, number one with the New England Patriots. He played his college football at the University of Colorado, an All-American, and we're so happy Nate Solder to join us here today in the studio. And welcome to Sports Sidelines, Nate.
Thanks, happy to be here.
And we certainly didn't have to take the door down for Nate to come in. Of course, he's 6'8", well over 300 pounds, in good shape. And certainly congratulations on a wonderful season. How about the excitement, Nate, of being told that you were drafted back in 2011?
Wow, it was pretty surreal. I'm a pretty down-to-earth kid. I just didn't really realize that could happen to me, and I'm sitting there at my home, and that's where we had our draft party, and we're looking on national TV watching our living room. It was kind of an unreal experience. Not many people can have that experience. It was pretty neat.
I wanted to ask a similar question, and forgive me if this is a little redundant, but I was just thinking this morning while you were probably already 10 miles into your workout. He probably does more before 9 o'clock in the morning than most of us do in a week. But Nate, what is it like from the inside to experience such a rapid rise? Although you're young and the proportions in terms of Dave's age and my age are different, it was a rapid rise. You were All-American, and then you're in the first round of the draft. You have this magnificent 2012 season. You started every game, yes?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1,234 snaps.
Yeah.
League high.
Yeah.
What is that like?
I think I just kind of plugged myself into the Patriots system, and once I was here, I was driven so incredibly hard that I didn't have much time to kind of look around. I was just kind of focused on the next objective, and I think it was hard for me, not just because it was a long season, but also because I'd kind of gone from college and then jumped into this whole different atmosphere, and it kind of left me a little bit wondering in the off season why I'm here, what I'm doing, and I didn't really find my purpose till end of the season 2, into season 3, where I was kind of like, you know what? I was put here for a reason. God put me here, and I found a lot of purpose in that, and it's been a really exciting journey for me the whole way up.
When did you actually start playing football? Was it back in the Pup Warner days?
Yeah, well, no, I started playing in 7th grade, and I did it because all my friends were doing it, and I had fun doing it, and I got better doing it. I learned, I learned that 10 yards was for a first down. I didn't know that, so those sort of things,
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a process the whole way, and I've been learning, tons every year, and I didn't come into this having a full, education on the whole football thing, and every year I've learned a lot, so it's been a neat process.
How big were you in the 7th grade? When did you get most of your growth?
7th grade? Wow, I was pretty big. Probably 6'2", 6'3" in 7th grade. I know in 8th grade I was 6'4", and then freshman I was 6'6", and then I was somewhere between 6'6" and 6'8" all through high school.
So obviously basketball was on your agenda.
Loved basketball, yeah, but I was the kid in middle school that would hit it off the backboard 6 times and then finally put it in because no one could get the rebound from me.
Baseball too. Excuse me, Dave.
Yeah. I played baseball from a small kid, and I loved baseball. Played it in the off season. During the winter I would go down to Florida and Arizona, and I love baseball, but the competition kind of ran away from me. I never was able to keep up with the guys that were able to play all year round, so I kind of fell behind in baseball.
That's interesting. So just as in Ted Williams' day, he was from Southern California, without having the climate that's conducive to year-round practice, you can't play at the highest possible level because you are not able to practice as much. Mm-hmm. But when you were playing baseball, was that what you think you wanted to do? Did you want to be a pro?
I always wanted to play pro baseball, and still to this day, it's one of my favorite sports. I love the sport and everything, and like I said, you play 2 months a year, you're not going to have a whole lot of advantages in that sport.
Now, Nate, your mom and dad certainly very proud of you, but you also had a brother who was 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
He was an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He played basketball and football at another university.
Yeah, well, my brother's been amazing. He played at Stanford. He played linebacker, outside linebacker, incredible athlete. 6'8" guy playing linebacker, if you can imagine that. And he ended up hurting his neck, so he wasn't able to finish his career, but he did get a degree from Stanford, and with like a 4.0 in geology. Now he just got his master's in hydrology, so he's a brilliant guy.
Would he have had a shot at the pros if
it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have said he was a better athlete than me. I've always been a little bit heavier than him, but he could have, sure.
That's nice of you to say. Excuse me again, Dave, but and I won't dwell on this, of course, but I'm sure many of our viewers are concerned about how you're doing, your health, your physical condition after a couple of nasty injuries last year.
Yeah. Well, the first day after the season, I was ready to go. I wanted to be playing in that last game of the season, so I was completely prepared for that. And going forward, I felt better this offseason than I have in a while, and I've been training really hard, so it's been really a good offseason.
One of the things that I did want to say to our viewing audience, Ron, and that's the fact that Nate Solder is a gentleman in the true sense of the word. As a matter of fact, I think he's a great role model for young people. He's the kind of guy, when I was working in Parks and Recreation, that I would like to bring to a banquet to pass over a message. That's just not coming from me. It's from people that I've heard talk about Nate Solder and the kind of guy he is. So that's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your family and your upbringing. Mm-hmm. And certainly we need to have more of that in the professional ranks.
I agree, and I would be interested to know what your, and I realize that this is a very demanding career, particularly early on, but what sorts of thoughts and advice might you have for families of young, promising football players or athletes of any kind?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is I think you have to have a rock to stand on. And for me, that's my faith, and for me, that's my family. And without that, you're just kind of slipping the whole time. There's a lot of things you can get caught up in, idolizing fame, idolizing glory, idolizing, trying to find women, or getting caught up in just being really good at sports and you don't have any purpose to it or any reason to do it. So I think the foundation of why you do that is the most important thing for that.
Well said.
And so your accomplishments or your efforts to reach certain levels of accomplishment in your professional pursuit now, it sounds to me, you fold into the rest of your life. You think about it as an analogy for achievement in other areas of living.
Yeah. Well, everything that I do, I work at it with as hard as I can, with my whole heart. And I don't know what kind of challenges and kind of things are going to come into my life, but whatever comes into my life, I try to do it the best that I can. And I would have imagined coming from a small town in Colorado that I'd be here today. But I continue to take that same approach to do it with the best of my ability.
And obviously there is life after football. What is it like, Nate, to play for a head coach like Bill Belichick, who's been a very successful coach? And here you are, and a starter for the New England Patriots.
Well, I think it's like anybody. When I first came in, my only impression that I had of him was from things I'd seen on TV. And so I was a little intimidated. But since I've been there, he's been an exceptional leader. He's been an exceptional coach to me. We've had really frank, good conversations where I've gotten to know him a little bit better. And he's the kind of guy you just want to work hard for and do well for. And he's been really great to me.
What was your first impression of him when you saw him as a New England Patriot?
My first impression? The first time I'd ever met him, he was sitting in a dark room. This was while the draft was going on because I was drafted first, so there's several other picks they had. And he's sitting in a dark room watching film of somebody, I don't know who, but he had his cutoff, sweatshirt on, his cutoff pants on, and he's sitting there. Obviously, been there for hours. Who knows how much longer he'd be in there? And that was kind of the first impression. This guy sitting by himself in a dark room studying film, and I think that's kind of summed him up for me.
If you just joined us, folks, we're talking to Nate Solder, who played his college football at the University of Colorado. He wears number 77. He's the starting left offensive tackle. He has the opportunity to do some blocking for certainly the name that comes up quite often, Mr. Brady. And what's it like to play with Brady as your quarterback?
It's been awesome playing for him, and I think so many people, and this is my perception was when I came in, NFL guys just kind of have it all figured out, and if they're the best of the best, then they must have all the talent in the world, all the physical ability in the world. And you see a guy like Tom, and everyone knows it's clear that he's not a fast runner, and he's not an elusive guy, but the guy just wins games, and it's great to be around a guy like that doesn't make excuses for things he's not as good at, and he just capitalizes on the things he is good at.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
You have allowed so few sacks. Do you feel a sense of kinship and responsibility to him because of these things?
100%. The more I get to know him, you kind of have a bond. It's kind of a loving bond between the quarterback, the other O-lineman, the other teammates, and so you only want the best for each one. And so when my role is to protect him, keep him healthy, I take that role very seriously.
And I'm sure he appreciates it as well.
Yeah, I think he does.
Tell me something about some of the other players that you have the opportunity to play with. Certainly there are many who play a major role.
Yeah.
When I think about the New England Patriots this past season and all the injuries that they had, Nate, to see how well they did going into the playoffs and finishing off, of course, against Denver. What are some of the other players that you'd like to recognize?
Well, it's hard to pick out one because every kind of guy you have a special connection with, and the biggest one I think for me, and this is because he's played such an impact, and we've gotten to know each other so well, is the center Ryan Wendell, and the way he coordinates us, the way he directs traffic. He's not the biggest guy, but he just has so many intangibles that just make us so much better, and he's a guy that's kind of in limbo right now. And we'd love to see him back because he makes us so much better. And playing next to a guy like Logan, who I know he gets a lot of praise, but man, he deserves it because he's a fantastic person, a fantastic teammate. He makes me a lot better, so I'm really fortunate to be next to him.
That's great to hear.
You spoke earlier about working in the system. What is it about the system to, especially those of our viewers who hear the word, understand the concept in approximate terms, but don't know what it really means to be part of either Bill Belichick's or the Patriots system, because that seems to have been the secret since 2001.
Yeah, I think the focus isn't necessarily on how many games you win or winning the game. It's on the process of getting better. So as we're going through the season, we're not looking back that we won this many games by this many points. We're looking at how can we improve, and I think it kind of changes your whole shift of focus. It doesn't matter how well you played. It doesn't matter how poorly you played. There's always a process of getting better. So when you can shift your focus to that, by the end of the season, you can just see so much progress in your play. And I think that's just kind of been the cornerstone of what the Patriots have done.
Was that an adjustment for you based on your prior football experience?
No, I think a lot of coaches attempt that. I just don't think that other coaches fully embrace that because you get caught up on, plenty of people get caught up on how many times you've won or how many times you've lost. And I just don't think that that's the case with the Patriots. The case is how much better can we get? What do we need to improve on?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of interesting, what about Bob Kraft? Would you consider him to be the best owner you could ever play for?
Yeah, well, he's been amazing to me. I think, too, just he has the Patriots Foundation, and I've just really enjoyed the people that are involved with that, the work that they do outside of football. And I'm not sure that a lot of owners take that much responsibility in their communities and the areas that they're in. I think that's really great.
He's clearly a brilliant businessman and owner. But my experience, having been an employee of his, and I regard him also as a professional friend, is that he's very positive. He looks for opportunities to extend praise or compliments to people who have really accomplished something. Is that your experience with him? I realize that's a leading question.
Yeah. My experience with him has always been very complimentary. He's always said, thank you for your great work. He's always given us gifts at different times, and I think he does appreciate what we do. And he kind of it all starts with him on the competitiveness and the drive for the team and making it wanting it to be better. I think he is definitely a positive guy.
And certainly when you talk about the New England Patriots, Bob Kraft talks quite often about it being a family. Do you feel the same way, Nate, as a member of that football team?
You know, any group of people that you go through a lot of hardship with and adversity with, you start to have family-like bonds, and I think that we definitely have that.
Yeah. What about the name Matt Light? That's certainly, he's the guy that you replaced at left tackle. Yeah. Did you have a chance to chat with him and spend some time with him prior to taking over that position when he retired?
Yeah, so it's really been a huge blessing coming to the Patriots, and one of the big reasons was just the people, and to step into, be drafted into someone else's position, a guy that held it for a number of years, and the way that he treated me with courtesy and respect and trying to help me get better just says a lot about who he is. He says a lot about what the Patriots are about. And to get to know him better and become his friend and spend more time with him, I really, really appreciated that.
And we're so happy that you actually spend lots of time in the Foxborough area. I know that you come from Colorado, but it seems like you found another home too here in the New England area.
Yeah. Well, I knew right away if I was going to get over the homesickness and being, 2,000 miles from home, I'd have to meet some people, get a part of the community, because I was from a small town, and so it's really fit me well to get to know people and be a part of this.
You at the outset of the program, were talking about how focused you are, and I can only imagine how much dedication, hard work, and focus it takes. But outside of that commitment, I know you have other interests, skiing being one of them. You're an outdoorsman. Is some of that time limited, and do you long for more opportunities to engage in your pastimes?
And I've never seen anyone 6'8" come down a hill skiing. This is amazing.
Yeah. It's funny, we shouldn't talk about skiing too much. No.
Yeah.
I haven't actually skied since college.
As far as Coach Belichick is concerned.
Yeah. No, I was just afraid, that something stupid would happen with skiing. But I do have a lot of other interests, and it's kind of curbing them to kind of fit the time that I have free. Because I think you need to harbor relationships, you need to harbor other things in your life, and you can't be spending all your time on yourself. And so that's kind of what hobbies become sometimes, is spending a lot of time with yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I would say that during the season, we have zero time. We don't have a whole lot of other time besides football. But during the off season, it's like, people would long to have that free time that we have. It's as we work out once during the day, and then all day for weeks on end, you can do anything you want, and we have the means to do that too. So in terms of free time, we have it pretty good.
I'd be interested to know, however, conversely, when you're in the off season, if you have nervous energy because you're not in the regimen that prepares you week by week for these amazing duels.
Yeah. I think that is kind of why you see a lot of the spring back in terms of people getting in trouble during the off season. I don't know if it's nervous energy, but it's just a little too much free time, idle time. And so I've definitely faced that, and trying to find something where I can plug into and be a part of and invest some serious time rather than just kind of hobby time and that sort of thing.
That's an interesting segue, I think, if you will, into a question about scholastic athletes. Mm-hmm. One of the things I used to hear from a friend of mine is when they're on the field or they're on the court or in the pool, they aren't anywhere else. What's your philosophy about scholastic sports from that perspective?
You're talking about keeping people in line and
focus,
out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I certainly had that same experience in high school, and I'd be going from, basketball practice to football practice to baseball, and I was constantly busy. So, yeah, I was a little bit of a jock in that. It was the only thing I did was sports. But I think just staying away from all the other things you can get caught up in was just so valuable too. And we had an awesome community in Buena Vista, the town I grew up in, and we had a lot of opportunities because I did the newspaper for a while. I was in the school play, and there were just so many things that you get plugged into that were so much more valuable than actually wasting time, getting caught up in drugs or.
I'm so happy to hear Nate say that as a professional football player, because I think it's so important for young people to occupy their leisure time
Yeah.
and to be able to do it in a constructive way, because if they don't occupy their time, it could end up being destructive things that take place. I've heard both Dale and Leah talk about lots of great things about Nate Solder, and certainly you got lots of friends out there in this area. Do you miss Denver, Colorado? What was it like to go back there and play in a playoff game?
It was fantastic to go back there and play. I think bittersweet though, yeah, and when your job's kind of pinnacled on winning and playing well, and we didn't need to do either of those things, so it was kind of bittersweet because my whole family, all my friends got to see it, which was really neat. Hopefully, maybe we get another chance.
That could happen.
Absolutely. I won't drag you into a political controversy, but because of the state you come from, where the legalization of marijuana is a nationally a topic of discussion, the question of health and substance abuse is one that confronts not only athletes but all sorts of young people. And some very reputable medical experts have said that marijuana, while it may not be as harmful to older people, is especially harmful to younger people.
When you said older people, you were looking right at me?
I was only trying to include you in the conversation. But do you have some general thoughts and feelings about what's going on in your home state? And I'll further preface that question by saying that the trainer I work with, I know it doesn't look like I have a trainer, but I need one, just returned from a skiing trip, and he said he thought he would find much more prevalent use of it on the mountain and elsewhere, and he didn't.
Yeah. Well, I feel if I make a comment either way, I'm going to be in trouble. So
Yeah.
I don't have any strong feelings either way. I guess that's why they vote. That's why that's why they have the democratic system, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Here in the town of Sharon, we have Andre Tippett, who certainly is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if you get a chance to mix and mingle with Andre at all in the role that he plays over there for the New England Patriots, but what a football player he was during his day, and we're so happy to have him right here in Sharon.
Yeah, well, I have gotten to speak to him a little bit here and there, and he's always around doing all kinds of different functions and things, and it's neat having a guy that was, a fantastic player like that now has kind of changed roles and does another neat thing with helping people out.
What was it like the last couple of years, Nate, in terms of developing your skills as a football player? You took the field for the New England Patriots back in 2011. A lot's happened since then. Your skills have developed. You know what your role is back there blocking for Brady. Do you feel that you've picked an awful lot up since taking the field?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a different game than college. Not just in the sense that people are better, but it's played differently. There's a lot, there's a lot different schemes. There's a lot different things going on. So. And now plugging into the Patriots system in terms of the way that they block, the way that they run their schemes. It's been a lot to learn. It's been a lot to, because even when you know it, consciously, you have to work it into your patterns of movement and behaviors, and that takes a lot of practice and a lot of work. So it has been a process, and I have improved, but I feel like I have a lot to improve on.
Yeah.
But there's also, excuse me, Dave, there's also this constant challenge of thinking on your feet when the plans go awry or something unexpected occurs.
Yeah.
What's that like from inside the helmet?
I just love that part of it. I love that part of it because you wouldn't believe some of the times where things will change and we're making calls as the ball's being snapped and as things are moving and just the mental process of just changing on an instant is just so much fun, and the way it moves so quickly across our line, the information is it's awesome, and we get it right, and it's like, and you get it wrong, it's like the end of the world because everyone's like, why wouldn't you get that right? But you get it right, it's like you just feel so awesome about the way you've communicated, the way you've just switched in your brain so quickly. It's really awesome.
That sounds like
we
fun.
have this helmet here, Ron, because of Nate being here. This is a working helmet, and of course he's a worker when it comes to blocking in the backfield. And I would like to talk a little bit about your high school career. I know that takes you back once again to the name of the high school, Was it
Buena Vista.
Buena Vista?
Yeah, if it were pronounced correctly, it'd be Buena Vista, but it's Buena Vista.
Did you, in your wildest dreams, ever think back in high school as an athlete playing many sports that you someday would be a professional? Did you have, which team did you root for? Denver?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Kraft, if you
There's
heard
a
that,
few
we're
Patriots
gonna
out
we're gonna
there.
wipe that off the tape. But
Can't hold it
obviously,
against me.
that's where you get started playing your sports.
Yeah.
And of course, does the name Mark mean anything to you? That's his last name. He was
Markin.
one of your coaches.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
And that was something very special. Anything you want to say about Coach Mark?
Yeah, well, a few crucial decisions happened in my life, and he was kind of there for a lot of them. And one of the kind of things that he always did which was funny. He said, "Nate, you could be an All-American. You could be an All-American." And it's like, you're a high school kid. That's a joke. Like, what are you talking about? And then, boom, I was an All-American. You know, that's pretty amazing for him to say that. You know, 6-7 years before that happened. You know. So he definitely had that vision of what I could be, and so that kind of you don't even realize it when you're a kid, I guess. And
Did he
then
actually see you play as a professional player?
he's been to some games, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, he stayed really connected with me all through college, so we got to see a lot of college games. He's been a fantastic person, and the other crucial decision was I was going to take a recruiting visit to do a football thing, and I was not going to do football. I was going to do basketball. And his logical mind came to me and said, well, I understand that you want to do basketball, but what's the hurt in just going and visiting and seeing what it's like and getting to know it a little bit better? And I said, I guess, you know, I've got nothing better to do. Why not just go visit
Wow.
and do football? So he kind of talked me into the
Isn't it nice
visiting
to have a couple of options?
No, I'll
yeah,
say.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How many of us who even could have stepped on a field, you know, would love to have that experience?
Yeah, you know.
Do you make phone calls shortly after games to family and coaches about things that have happened in that game?
There's a lot of digesting about the game, but most of the time with my family, I'd rather not talk about football. You know, it's
Really?
yeah. There's a little football talk because it's just still on your mind. It's so fresh. But I'd like to move on because that whole week has just been this build up and it's just this amount of anxiety and stress that's going into that game. After the game, let's just breathe and relax and enjoy and have fun, you know.
I'm sure you must have had a couple of games, or maybe more, that you consider to be one of the highlights,
Yeah,
whether it be in college or whether it was with the Patriots.
yeah,
Something that you'll always remember.
yeah.
Anything special that's happened that
Well-
you'd like to share with our viewing audience?
Yeah, I think when I was at CU, it was only about 6 or 7 months later, I was playing in Indianapolis for the Super Bowl. So that whole
Oh, wow.
going from that to that quickly was fantastic. I started in the Super Bowl my rookie year. Pretty spectacular, and the way I felt about the game was probably best described as sheer terror. but
Really?
but I didn't play that way. I felt like I played decently. I was still a rookie. I played like a rookie, but I didn't play like I was terrified. I felt like I played all right.
How do you manage that? How do you control that terror?
Yeah, I think you push into it, I guess. The only way down the hill is forward, right? And that's kind of the way skiing is. You get to the top of the hill, you got to go down, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's
Don't stand
the
there
only
thinking
answer.
about it.
Yeah, you can't back up, you know. So I think that's how I kind of handled it. It's like start playing the game. Then once you play the game, it's like I've been playing this since I was in 7th grade. You know, it's the same game, and you begin having fun. You know, it's not terror anymore.
What was it like, Nate, playing high school basketball with your brother on the same team? You had lots of success.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have liked to have been the coach of that team with two brothers at 6'8".
Yeah. There's I've played against some fantastic athletes in the NFL, and I'll continue to play against a bunch. But there's no one I'm more competitive with than my brother.
Okay.
It's like we came out of
Yeah.
the womb that way, man. It's like every single thing we do is just so competitive, and which is great. And we've really had a great relationship, and it's gotten a lot stronger in the last few years. But in high school, it was like I do this better than you. You do this better than me. So it's this constant battle and fight, and made us so much better. You know, steel sharpens steel, I think.
Has he been out this way often?
Yeah, he's been out quite a few
yeah.
times. Yeah, he's made the trip quite a
Certainly
few
hope we
times.
get a chance to meet him.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, he's a really great guy. Yeah.
Now, do you look alike?
Yeah.
Which one
yeah.
is older? Which brother?
He's older. He's 2 years older, and most people say we're kind of a spitting image of each other, but I have, I don't know, 90 pounds or something on him, so I guess that's the biggest difference. But.
What a great thrill it is to have an opportunity to play in a professional sport.
I think so, particularly these days, because there's so much more that we know about the matrix between sports and health, not just physical and mental health, but behavior. There are all sorts of programs, including one at Northeastern University, that deals with how athletes cope with this rapid success, which is a very big challenge. But I can tell from your answers that you have absolutely no difficulty at all intellectualizing this experience and handling it.
Yeah, I get too intellectual sometimes. You gotta, you know, children can handle it, so I think that we can handle this.
One curiosity I've always had about professional sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, golf, anything, is when something doesn't go well, you have to push on. You have to go past it. You have to put it out of your mind, almost as if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Is that a correct assumption? And if so, is there a way that you can describe that process?
Maybe that's why it's good that we keep getting hit in the head so many times.
Oh, gee.
I'm only joking.
You scare the daylights out of my wife as well as me when that happens.
Yeah. No, but there's definitely, I think that the same coach Mark, and he made a lot of comments about there's going to be something bad that's going to happen. I mean, that's just the nature of sport. And it's not a matter of whether it happens, it's how you handle it when it does happen. And so many times people freak out and things go wrong and you have to change course and all these sort of changes that kind of go on during the course of a game. But then you realize that is the game. That's the fun of the game. That's the point of the game is when something bad happens to you, you adjust, you get better, you move on.
One of the things, Ron, that we talked about in previous shows, whether it be with Rick and Dick Hoyt, we had a chance to interview Bob LaBelle and Steve Grogan, formerly of the New England Patriots. We talked about role models. We talked about how important it is for a professional athlete to understand that there's lots of young people out there watching. And I think Nate comes into that category, as I said earlier in the show. He is a role model. He's a gentleman. And I remember Doug Flutie, who grew up in this area, in the New England area, Heisman Award winner, certainly is very cautious and very careful about what he says because he knows that the young people out there are watching. And sometimes athletes say the wrong things at the wrong time in front of young people. And it's nice to be able to interview a guy like Nate who has all the ingredients of being a great athlete, at the same time a role model for the people out there that are listening. I know I'm going into the song and dance and the recreation story, but I think that's important, that all athletes should be very cautious of how they handle themselves, whether it be on camera or in their own personal life. Do you agree with that, Ron?
I do, and I think it's probably a good sort of recommendation or credo for everybody. If members of Congress as well as competing heads of state had a little more respect for each other. Respect, I think, is the name of the game. Respect for themselves, and for the fragility of this human relationship we have, and that's getting way too philosophical. But do any of your ultimate aspirations and goals, Nate, take you into the area of mentoring? I guess the simple question is, there will be life after you leave the NFL, which hopefully won't be soon.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas about what you'd like to do?
Big time. I think that when I was in college, I always said to myself, man, I wish I had myself 20 years from now telling me, guiding me through this, because I know in 20 years I'm going to have the wisdom to be able to handle these things so much better. So I would love to be a mentor for college kids or for high school kids and in whatever facet that is, because I've been able to connect with, the kids that like drama or the kids that like sports or whatever, because I like all those sorts of people, and I can love on all those sorts of people. So absolutely, and anything I could plug into like that, and that's right up something I would want to do.
We should bronze the recording of this show, so that you can play it back when that happens.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, we're hoping we can play the show not just here in Sharon, but in the other 4 communities, Easton, Brockton, Foxborough, and of course, which town did I miss?
Mansfield?
Easton.
Yeah.
Happens to be where I live right now. I forgot them, but the fact is that I'm so happy that we're able to do this right here in the Sharon studio, so that people can see what the real Nate Solder is all about. Your parents, I know they're very proud of you, Nate. Tell us something about what they've been able to add to your career in sports. Your upbringing has an awful lot to do with where you ended up today.
Yeah, I think I take it for granted sometimes, because a lot of people don't have 2 parents anyhow, and to have 2 parents as exceptional as mine, that hardworking role models, very supportive. If my mom could be at every game, she'd be at every game, and I tell her, Mom, I need a little more space than that. But they have been to every game. In college, they were at every game. In high school, they were at every game.
Wow.
And the amount of commitment that takes, I think I take it for granted a little bit.
Was your mom and dad a coach in any of your programs growing up?
Basically.
Yeah.
My mom, she ran, when I was in Boy Scouts, she got involved with Boy Scouts, so we could spend more time together, so she could, be involved with my life a little bit more. And then my dad, we had summer baseball, and he was a coach from the bleachers, but he was there at every game yelling, and everyone knew Ed. Ed was the guy that was always making a difference.
I feel a soup commercial contract coming on.
Now, what about baseball? What position did you play?
Baseball, first base and pitcher.
First
Nice.
base and pitcher.
Yeah.
Which did you like best?
I really liked pitcher. I thought that was awesome. I don't think there's really a sport that you can control the game as much at one position as pitcher.
Well, can you imagine being a batter and the guy on the mound is 6'8",
Yeah.
over 300 pounds?
Yeah.
There are a
throwing
lot
that
of
ball.
tall pitchers in the majors now.
Yeah. Makes you have to throw strikes, though, because they're all afraid.
What do you remember the speed of your pitches?
No, it wasn't very fast. Yeah, it wasn't.
I'm sure it was.
No.
But what about
yeah.
your success in baseball? Your high school basketball team went to the tournament in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
What about the baseball?
Baseball team, not as good as. So in Buena Vista, it's basketball and football is like their key premier sports. And baseball, I think we all kind of took it as this is our time to relax and have fun a little bit, and it didn't get as competitive, which we missed out on a lot. But you do the best what you can.
You mentioned journalism and drama as other interests.
Yeah.
Did your interest in either of those fields ever rise to the point where you thought you might like to continue, or do you still have some ideas along those lines?
Yeah, football has just been such a driving force in my life. There's a lot more power behind it, I think. So that's kind of the train I've latched myself to right now. And eventually, I don't know where that'll end up, but I did a couple drama courses in college and had a great time, and I probably could have pursued it further. And I did. I didn't do any journalism, but I have done a lot of artwork and painting and things, and that's kind of just been like a kind of current throughout my life is artwork, and it's just kind of a hobby that I have.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you have a recollection about your favorite role in drama?
Yeah, in senior year, I was in the play. I was Linus, so I carried the blanket around, and I had my thumb in my mouth the whole time.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Not embarrassed. It was a lot of fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that tells a story about Nate, and certainly he has a variety of things that he's interested in. And when we talk about a well-rounded individual, we're talking about someone who does lots of things, and you certainly are in that category, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? I know you touched upon it earlier during our interview. There are some young people out there that have these aspirations of maybe someday being a professional athlete.
Yeah.
What could you suggest to them in terms of preparation? Not everybody makes the pros. Not everybody makes a college team. Not everybody makes the high school varsity team. I tell this to young people that are playing basketball at the early levels. Enjoy it, have fun. There may be a few that get that opportunity.
Yeah.
What's it like? What could you recommend to some young
Well, there's two
person?
things, and for those that are trying and don't succeed, I think that you can't pin your shirt with one thing. It's like you need to be solid in an eternal thing, and that for me has been Jesus. And the other thing I would tell people that are having success and are doing well is kind of get with someone that has had success. And I know when I was at Colorado, one of my best friends now was a freshman, and I was going in to be a senior, and he came with me every week, and he would watch film with me, and we'd watch film. We became friends, and he just understood the way I played, and not that I knew so much, but I knew more than him. And I think that you can go through life kind of looking for mentors like that. And now he plays for Green Bay. He was their starting left tackle this year, and so it was a lot of pride for me to see him do so well. But it also just shows, how he was working so hard, and he could see where he needed to go based on the role models he was choosing in his life.
So you can see the spiritual side of Nate Solder as well. People out there seeking God in their own way, looking for help to go in the right direction. This has been a very interesting interview with a very interesting athlete. And Nate, we are so thrilled that you found some time to join us. And I know that we've had the opportunity to interview lots of people. This is going to be one that we're going to enjoy very much, giving the opportunity for the people here in the town of Sharon, as well as the other communities, to read and to look and to see the real Nate Solder. You came from Denver, Colorado. You went to the University of Colorado, where you started in football. Did you play any other sports there?
No.
No. That's a job and a half as itself, just to play one sport.
My goodness,
Full
yes.
time.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was before, but
Yeah.
A lot of people
And
are-
this certainly confirmed our feeling about Nate Solder. And Nate, any final comment that you'd like to make? And we thank the PR person from the Patriots, Mike, joined us today to watch the show, and we appreciate him joining us. Anything that you'd like to say to our viewing audience out there?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is how great the fans have been to me. It's been a great community. It's been very supportive, and I just thank them for that. And it's really not about Nate Solder. I appreciate you saying a lot of good things, but I've had so many people pouring into my lives, and to be able to pour into other people's lives the same way they've poured into my life is really important too.
What does the season look like for the New England Patriots, coming from the left tackle?
You know what? Those guys meaning the coaching staff and the guys I play with, they always seem to put together a good product, and it'll take a lot of work, but I know it'll come together.
And certainly after last season, you can expect anything. And certainly, do you consider Tom Brady to be a leader on and off the field?
An exceptional guy, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that people feel that way, and from the coaches, the players, to the fans.
including a new one. Brandon Fells, quoted in today's papers, saying he wants to play for a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And what about the captain of the defense? I know he was injured most of the season. He certainly hated to miss getting into the playoffs, but hopefully he'll be back. Any final comment, Ron Sanders?
Well, I probably would have a final question.
Okay.
What single piece, you spoke of mentoring, what single piece of holistic advice could you give to any young viewer, whether he or she is an athlete or not, about how to focus and make a commitment to excellence?
I think it's all about eliminating distractions, and that's kind of making choices in your life. Is this going to be conducive to me being good at what I really want, and having that foresight to see what you really want, and be able to eliminate all the things that aren't going to help you get to that point. And that can be a range of different things. So.
Wonderful.
What about that basketball game I think we got coming up in Sharon, hosted by the Sharon Boosters Club? They're playing the New England Patriots.
Oh.
Are you involved with that, Nate?
I am occasionally. I don't know if I'm involved with that particular one.
Certainly, I know the Sharon Boosters Club, knowing that this guy 6'8" might be on that roster,
Yeah.
could be very, very scary. Nate, what about practice? When do you start practice? When does the team start coming together?
Yeah, we get back together April 21st, and that's our off-season training. So we'll be doing just lifting and running, and then they kind of taper in slowly. They do position drills with your offense, your coach, and then OTAs coming up in May, I think.
Anything you want to say about the offensive coordinator?
Josh,
he's also a good one.
Yes, he's been awesome, and so lucky to have him. I couldn't even tell you all the parts and pieces that go into his job. I don't want that job. He does a fantastic job at it.
You can see him on the sidelines running back and forth and making things happen. Of course, he's had tremendous experience as a head coach himself. And I know that it's been an inspiration. Lots of folks follow the New England Patriots. You see it a little different here in New England versus the Denver crowds and how they handle sports. I know that Denver is an area that is big time on the football.
Yeah.
And any difference between Denver and New England?
Everyone kind of loves their team. I don't know how much difference there is.
Well, I certainly would like to thank Nate Solder for being our guest today. He wears number 77 for the New England Patriots. This has been a wonderful interview because we had a chance to talk more than just about football, Ron. We had a chance to talk about character and about a role model that we feel is a good inspiration to young people out there. And I think this is something that's important that we need to have in sports. And I know that, Ron Sanders, you've had a chance to do lots of interviews over the years, and some of them on the spot as a reporter for several different TV stations. This has got to be one that you'll always remember with Nate.
I always enjoy talking about the pursuit of excellence, and I have tremendously enjoyed hearing your take on it. And I'll be watching and hoping and praying for you next season.
All right. Good.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's show called Sports Sidelines. Special thank you to Nate Solder for joining us here in the studio. We're here in Sharon. Today's cablecast has been a production of Sharon Community Television, and we certainly hope that we thank our guest from the other surrounding towns that may be watching this. We wish Nate nothing but the best in his future endeavors. We certainly hope that he'll stay off the ski hills until after football is over. And again, we thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Ron Sanders.
My pleasure, as
and
always.
Nate Solder.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.